How to progressively overload doing calisthenics. Progressive overload is just another fancy way of saying, in order to make progress, you need to work out a little bit harder than you did last time. So if you bench 200 pounds for 5 reps, and you do that every single workout, eventually it's going to become easy. And for you to make more progress, you're going to have to either add more weight to the bar or add an extra rep to the set. So if you're someone like me who likes to do a lot of body weight exercises like pull-ups, dips, squats, that sort of stuff, adding more weight isn't really an option. I like working out just my body weight, and a lot of times I don't really want to add weighted vest or a belt. I like just training body weight. Something about it just feels good to me. So the obvious answer to progressively overload is, oh well, just simply add more reps, right? Technically, yes, adding more reps is progressive overload, but it gets to a point where it becomes kind of difficult to add more and more reps. For example, let's say you're a beginner and you're only able to do 5 push-ups. You progressive overload and eventually you could do 6, and then eventually you could do 7, and then 8, and then 9. That's like a very manageable rep range. But for someone like me who's able to do close to 100 push-ups in a row, it becomes kind of difficult to add more and more reps past a certain point. And that's actually one of the reasons why a lot of weightlifting influencers bash on calisthenics so hard, because they think there's no other way to progress other than doing a bunch of reps. And I'm here to tell you guys today that yes, there is other ways of doing progressive overload in calisthenics, and I'm going to teach you guys a few methods I use in order to see steady gains coming in. Like I mentioned before, if you're a beginner, the best form of progressive overload is simply going to be adding more reps. So if you're only doing 5 push-ups, try and do a little bit more until you get to that higher number. That's the first form of progressive overload you should be doing if you're starting calisthenics. I still use this method for muscle ups because I'm only able to do 9 muscle ups, that's my max, so I'm still slowly adding more reps and making progress that way. Next is variations. There's a ton of variations for basic exercises. There's a bunch of pull-up variations, there's a bunch of push-up variations, and if you guys want to see these variations, go to my YouTube channel. I teach a bunch of different variations that will make the basic exercises a little bit harder. Things like elevating your feet during push-ups or doing wide grip pull-ups is going to increase the difficulty of certain exercises. Another way I like to make progressive overload is by taking less rest time between my sets. This is a method that a lot of people completely ignore. One thing I really like to do is I'll set a rep goal for a workout. For example, this workout, I want to do 500 push-ups. Usually 500 push-ups will take me 50 minutes, but this time I'm going to try and do it in 45 minutes. So by doing it in less time, I necessarily have to take less rest time and I'm going to be pushing myself harder, therefore making progressive overload. Now, a lot of the times I don't set up rep goals. I just show up to the park and kind of freestyle my workouts. I just show up and do a bunch of dips, I do a bunch of pull-ups, a bunch of squats, and naturally by doing high reps, my body adapts to it and will use less energy to do these sets. And by using less energy doing those sets, I naturally will be inclined to take less rest between sets. For example, let's say you could only do 10 pull-ups. If you do a set of 10 pull-ups, it's going to require you a lot of energy and you'll need to rest longer between sets. But for me, 10 pull-ups isn't very hard, so my body doesn't really use that much energy to do those 10 pull-ups. So I can quickly do another set with little rest time. I don't really have to think about this method because my body just kind of tells me, okay, I'm rested enough to do another set. So I just go when I'm ready, and naturally I'll make progressive overload doing that. Another way to make progressive overload is weighted calisthenics, like I mentioned earlier. I don't usually train weighted calisthenics. I did it for the purpose of this video, but it kind of applies the same principles as weightlifting. You could add more weight or add another rep, so it's very efficient for making progressive overload. But like I said at the beginning of this video, I enjoy just training body weight, so I don't usually use this method. And the final method I use to make progressive overload doing calisthenics is slowing down the movement and feeling the contraction. There's a lot of huge bodybuilders out there that only lift light weights, and what they do is they lift it very slowly with perfect form and use a really good mind-muscle connection in order to make that light weight feel heavier. The same concept could be applied for calisthenics. If you slow down the movement and really feel the mind-muscle connection, really focus on the muscle you're working, it's going to make that movement a lot harder and you're going to progressively overload. If this video was helpful, make sure to hit the like button and go check out my channel for more calisthenics videos. I hope you guys all have an amazing day. Peace.